Today is a bit of a awakening in the sense that I wish to point out that Buddhism is a subject which is quite difficult to understand. And I personally, when I first learned Buddhism, thought it was very easy. So I said, oh, there's nothing to understand. It's so simple. But when I really got down to it, I found it's more than that. It's much more difficult. It's much more complex than just meets the eye. So I'm trying to tell you roughly from my personal experience why Buddhism is so difficult for us to fully understand. And in fact, I would like to go back and point out that after the Buddha attained his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, he sat in that vicinity for about 7 weeks. And during this time, he tried to recollect all he gained through his enlightenment. And after that, he at first decided not to teach Buddhism or the Dhamma to the people because he felt this is so difficult. I took so long to understand. I nearly died. And eventually I gained this enlightenment. It is so hard. How can ordinary people understand me? He felt like that. So this is the reason why I thought I would like to share with you my personal experiences of the difficulties of understanding the Buddha's teaching in its correct context. Now I will begin with a very simple one. For instance, the Buddha's teachings contain in essence the Four Noble Truths. And all Buddhists understand that if we know these four truths completely or thoroughly or inside wisdom of it, you are already enlightened. Now how many of us can say we understand? In fact, none, to be frank. I don't understand. Because if I understand, I'm already enlightened. And I'm not. So therefore, it proves to you that you haven't understood. Neither have I. So therefore, I'm trying to point out areas where the Buddha said something. We get the wrong ideas and we say, oh, I have understood. So please try to follow. It's a bit tricky, you know. So the first noble truth the Buddha taught was, life is suffering. Very simple. He simply says, so long as you are born, you will suffer. That's what it means in brief. Now then, if you ask any Buddhist, or any human being for that matter, he will say, I agree, life is suffering. Only under certain conditions, you see. He says, when I'm sick, yes, I suffer. I'm very unhappy. That we all know. But when I'm not sick, then I don't think I suffer. So if you think like that, you haven't understood the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha says, life is suffering. He did not say life is suffering only when you are sick. He didn't say that. So therefore, we have not understood him. It's as simple as that. Now he says there are certain areas, certain things which cause suffering. What are they? He says first, birth is suffering. I suppose if I ask you now, you all agree birth is suffering. Yes or not? Anybody disagree? Huh? Put up your hands, please. Don't be shy. Well, you all agree birth is suffering. Very good. All right, I ask you now. How do you know birth is suffering? Can anybody answer that? Why do you say life, birth is suffering? Huh? Have you any proof? Have you yourself experienced it? You were born, but when you were born, you did not know anything about suffering. Huh? So when you grow big, you say, I don't know. Nah. I was born, I don't know whether I suffer or not. So how can you say birth is suffering? And we simply accept it and say the Buddha said, so therefore birth is suffering. So in other words, I'm trying to point out that I didn't know it. Neither do you. Therefore, we haven't understood the Buddha's teaching. It's as simple as that. Now, how did I come to this realization that it's so difficult to understand? In fact, I read a book called The Buddha's Teachings, that's the name, by Vettimuni, his name, you see. Very good author. I read through his book. When I first read it, I thought I talk to people, Four Noble Truths, I can explain all this about Four Noble Truths. People say, Mr. Pham, very good talk. So I thought I knew all about it. But when I read his book, I began to think, hey, really, it's very, very biblical. I haven't understood it. And these are the questions he brought out. And he even said, 20 years ago, he said, I thought I understood Buddhism. I thought I know Buddhism. But today, I feel that I don't know so much of Buddhism. I feel I know less. And he says the reason for that is not because I'm becoming stupid, more stupid, and so now I'm very, very, very stupid, so that's why I don't understand. He said that was not the reason. The reason is that really the teachings of the Buddha are very, very subtle, very, very detailed, and so deep that we fail to see it. We look at the surface of it and say, yeah, I agree. Just like you go to the sea, you see it very calm, and you say, hey, that water very calm, very peaceful, nice place. But you don't know about the sea. When the winds blow, you get 10-foot waves coming up, and you get a thing smashing against the floor, against the shore. Houses get carried away. Then you say, my word, the sea is terrible. I didn't know that. And just like that, we look at the Buddha's teachings very, very superficially on the top. And we say, yes, the sea is very calm, harmless, the water is very cool, and you say that's that. But you haven't understood what the sea really is. And I say the first noble truth, we haven't understood it. Because the Buddha says, birth is suffering. And we straightaway say, yeah, both suffering. And we accept. We don't even question why birth is suffering. Then the next one he says, sickness is suffering. When we get sick, we suffer. Now, the Buddha did not say, when you get sick, you suffer. He says, sickness is suffering. So it means deeper than that. And what does it really mean? It means this. I will try to explain a little. Now, my explanation may not be 100% correct, but this is what I think he means. It's much deeper than that. Sickness is suffering does not mean only when you are sick. Now, when I am sick, I suffer. That we agree, that little bit. But we suffer only once in 3 months. We get sick, we may get a cold. After all, not much suffering, isn't it? So, it is not the truth. It is not what the Buddha meant. He meant more than that. Now, what does it mean? It means that when you are sick, you suffer. That bit you understand. That occurs very rarely, not every day. Now why then did he say this? The reason to my mind is that we all have relatives, friends, workmates, and the society we are living in. Now today you're sick. Next day your brother becomes sick. Now when your brother becomes sick, that sickness also affects you. You suffer because the brother may be coughing midnight when you're going to sleep. He's coughing and you, oh yeah, this road wakes me up. How to sleep? That is suffering. So your brother, mother, sister, relatives, friends, when they get sick, you are indirectly affected or directly. So that causes suffering. So all the time somebody is sick. So that is why he says sickness is suffering. He didn't say your own sickness is suffering. You understand? So that is why as Buddhists we must go deeper into it, much deeper. Don't just look at it, suffering, yes. When I get sick, I suffer. That is suffering. That means you haven't understood the Buddha's teachings. So I was in the same category. I didn't understand also. I accepted. But after further investigation, after deep contemplation, after reasoning, arguing, I begin to see it is very deep. It's not just at the surface, Now I go back to the bird. I asked you, I said, how do you know that bird is suffering? Huh? You didn't answer. I didn't answer. Anybody like to try to answer that? How do you know the Buddha says bird is suffering? Why do we suffer? Huh? How do you know? Yes?
Otherwise the child won't cry.
That's one question. Very good. One answer. Anybody else? Anybody else want to try? Why do you think bird is suffering? Anybody else want to try? Never mind. I mean, we are sharing opinions, yeah? Force himself out, huh? You think that's suffering, huh? Maybe so, huh? Anyway, you didn't experience that anyway, huh? Okay. Now, these are points. Now, the first one that mentioned about child crying, apparently, I investigated that and I asked the doctors about this subject. And they say crying is not due to suffering, They say scientific explanation for that is when a child comes out, it must cry to breathe, to start breathing. Otherwise the lungs cannot operate, So when a doctor gives birth to a child and no noise, he bangs its backside to make it cry, so that when you cry, your lungs are operated upon and you start breathing. If you don't cry, you cannot breathe. And you find the child becomes defective. The mind doesn't get the oxygen and you find retarded child, Remember that. So that is not fluff, That is a necessity. A child must cry if it is healthy. It's not due to pain, not due to suffering. Anyway, that is what I have learned through the medical one. Huh? Yes, what else you want to say?
Yes, maybe you can ask the doctor, is that cry different from the child's other cries?
It is
Different types of cry.
It is not really different, but it is just to exercise the lungs. As when it cries, the lungs expand, and that's how this thing starts, and that's the only way you can start generating. Of course, you could press the fellow's lungs and try the artificial thing. That also can, but this is a better way. The child cries, breathes in air when you cry. So that's how it starts the operation. That's how doctors, when they give delivery to a child, they immediately expect the child to cry. If not, they will hit its backside or something to make it cry. And when it cries, it breathes in air, and then it's functioning. And then you won't have any mental defects. Otherwise, if the child is slow in crying, that child has a chance of becoming defective. So that is not the correct answer, not the real answer, okay? Excuse my saying so, but to my mind, that's not the perfectly good answer. The other one of coming out, that is a point. But the main point is this. A baby in the mother's womb is protected in a cushion of water. You know that, isn't it? There's a cushion of water. It is protected, it is warm, it is very comfortable, like in the spring, like water bed. You understand? You jump around, very nice. That child is subject to that condition for 8-9 months in the mother's womb. When it comes out, it is entirely different. Temperature is different. The body temperature is about 99 degrees. When you come out, the temperature is different. So the child gets a shock. So this is suffering. And then it is also subject to all other things, such as the senses. In the mother's womb, it is protected. And when you get a noise like motor car going, it hears some humming. Not much of disturbance. You come out, different. Motor car, motorcycle, the child gets, what is this? Sort of, you see, it is entirely different. And this is the meaning of suffering. You get the point. We don't know that, but this is the truth. And these are things that unless you're prepared to think and analyze, contemplate, you won't get it. See, and if you don't get it, you say, hey, what is that bird suffering? I don't think it's suffering. You don't see it. And this is where a lot of Buddhists, myself included, do not really understand it. It's so deep. Right? And then he says the third one is old age is suffering. Now you are all young. I don't see any old people among you. I do one or two, a bit of, like me, a bit bald, very few. But young people, what do you know about old age? I ask you. So Buddha says old age is suffering. You cannot just accept that. You say, I am not old. How do I know old age is suffering? And yet, we all never question that. When the Buddha teaching, when somebody teach you the Four Noble Truths, he say, old age is suffering. You should know your head. Old age suffering. You just accept like that. How can that be so? You didn't experience it. You have no proof it is suffering. How do you know it's suffering? How do you know suffering? How do you know I'm suffering? I'm getting old. You didn't ask me. How do you know I'm suffering? So there you are. You do not know the Buddha's teachings, and yet you say, I know the Four Noble Truths. See? So herein, I'm trying to show you, to wake you up a bit. In Buddhism, don't just accept things. The Buddha himself said so. Don't simply accept my teachings. You must question. You must investigate. You must contemplate and say, is it right or not? If it is not right, don't accept it. Or if you're not sure, you must ask questions. That is why when I go and give Dharma talks, usually after the talk, I ask any questions, everybody keep quiet. Why? I'm sure you got questions, but you don't want to ask it. Now I'm asking you, how do you know old age is suffering? You can't answer it, can you? Or I would like to try. Let us try. Can you all tell me why the Buddha said old age is suffering? Why? Why should it be suffering? I'm sure you know the Four Noble Truths. You must have heard it many times. You must have read it many times. You must have studied it. Why? What is this?
Physically, you are getting weaker and weaker.
Physically going to get weaker.
Physically getting weaker and weaker.
Okay. That's a very valid answer. Physically, you are on the decline. Huh? Those days you can run 100 yards without much of them, just sweating. Now you pant like hell, like cannot breathe properly, and you say, I don't want to run anymore. You do 50 yards only. So that is good. That's a good point. Any other reasons?
More prone.
Again?
More prone to diseases.
More prone to diseases. Yeah, that is also very logical, also very sensible. When you grow older, you get more sicknesses. Yes, good reason. Yes, it's logical. Any other reasons?
Decay of the faculties, decay and deterioration of faculties, the teeth start to go.
Yeah.
The sight gets bad, hearing gets worse.
Yeah. Okay.
Smell taste is not so sharp.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. That's good. Yes. Yeah. You want to say something? Yeah. Very good. Worry about approaching death. Yes, fear, like afraid you're going to die, isn't it? Life is coming to the end, sort of, So these are things. So this old age, since young people haven't experienced it, they do not really know it, So one thing is to say it. The second thing is to know it. So to know it is slightly different from just saying or hearing or reading about it, So therefore, young people, as a rule, do not pay much attention to the old age. I'm still young, why worry about it? Don't worry, if suffering is suffering, let it be, you see. So nobody really wants to really know about it. It is something which you try to push aside and say, don't worry about that, you see. So we don't fully understand the Buddha's teachings. We don't fully accept it. We are still saying, maybe so, So we are doing it in a very, what you call, unconvinced manner, right? That's what it is, We know Buddhism in a very, very shallow way. Very nodding, like you meet a friend, you say, hello, I met you before, isn't it? That's all we know, isn't it? But we don't really know him. You know what I mean? And the Buddha says, the Four Noble Truths you should know thoroughly. That is enlightenment. So therefore, we are still very far from there. So next time, if you people hear somebody say, a very wise old reverend talk about Four Noble Truths, don't think, I know Four Noble Truths. Don't waste time. I don't want to go listen to him. I know already. I've read so many times. Be prepared to change your views. One of Buddha's teachings, very important. Don't simply say, I know, so don't listen. Mr. Pham talk about Four Noble Truths. I know lah. He taught Four Noble Truths. I know all Four Noble Truths. So what for? Don't go and listen. Don't think that way, because you can learn something from somebody, no matter who he may be. He may not be cleverer than you, but he may know that particular subject a bit more than you. So go and listen and change your views a bit. Maybe a little bit you didn't know. He told something, that thing I didn't know. At least I've learned something. So be open. Try to be receptive. Try to change your views. Don't go and say, I know the Four Noble Truths. What he says must be wrong. He doesn't know. Come back. So I come back with the same ideas, without improvement, without changing our views. This is not good. We must be prepared to accept new ideas if they are correct and learn something. So now we come to the next one. So old age, you know a little about it, but not fully. You see. Now the next one is death. Now that's a very pertinent one, Now you are still young and not died yet. So how can you say death is suffering? You haven't experienced it. You don't know what it's like. So the Buddha said death is suffering. How do you know it's suffering? This is another very subtle question, which I like to discuss with you. Now what do you think? What is the reason for the Buddha saying Death is suffering. What does he mean by that? Anybody like to try? Yes?
You want to begin a new life again.
So?
They suffer and the next life.
Tougher in the next life.
Suffer
Ah.
in the next life.
Ah.
When the living being want to die, he will suffer in the next life.
Ah.
Continuing.
So that is the reason why you think death is suffering, huh? All right, that may be one reason. But if you're a good fellow, you've been doing good, doing 8 precepts like you, huh? When you die, you don't have to suffer, you're probably born in a better place. See? So it's not necessarily applicable for all people. He says everyone, So anyway, that is the point. It's a point. Yeah? Anybody else got any interesting points to bring up?
I believe life is precious to all, irrespective of whatever form of being you are. Even if you are an animal, you do not want to part with your life. So when your impending death is there, because it is a suffering, because the thought of death itself really is very suffering. Because you do not wish to part with life. No doubt how bad a person feels about his life is. Still, he has that craving for something better. So when the life has been removed from him, with the parting of the life itself, still it is a suffering, that sort of that state of mind, depravity.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that's one explanation. Anybody else want to add? Yeah.
When the person all to die, the last breath, they are going to die. You see them struggling for it. That's something.
Yeah, okay. That you see people dying at last minute, you struggle. Okay. Yeah.
We are not sure where are we going.
Not sure where we're going. Okay, that may be so. Okay, that may be so. Yeah. What else?
I think most problems fear that it beats the person the last moment.
Fear of death, huh? Fear of death. Yeah. Why should you be fear of death? Why is this the point?
For those who lack understanding of life.
Okay. Fear is the cause of that. Yeah. Any other ideas?
I think specifically the Buddha implied this message for human beings, the Puthujjanas. But if you are very noble, then that does not hold any fear of death. But if you are a Puthujjana, that means in all probability you have not completed the task of gaining enlightenment yet. So that presents still samsara.
Yeah, that's a very good explanation why we fear death. In other words, what we are trying to do is to ask ourselves, when you learn Buddhism, that's what we should do. We should question ourselves. Is this what the Buddha means? What does he really mean? So we must go deeper. In other words, what I'm trying to awaken in you is whenever you hear any Dharma talk, you must ask, is this correct? Why is it right? Why can't it be some other way? How is it so? Like that, you must ask, And this is what we are starting. Yeah? So I hope from today onwards, you people will be more aware of the Buddha's teachings, question, investigate, contemplate, reflect on it. And this is a form of meditation, where after a lot of investigation, questioning, discussion, you can then improve and say, now I know a bit more, okay? That's what we should do. That's my objective of today's talk. You see, because I personally had this problem. And I said, well, I don't know, Buddhism, I see it says suffering. How can every day be suffering? Sometimes I enjoy life, I'm very happy. So we do not accept the Buddha's teachings, or we have reservations. We are not fully convinced it is correct. And that applies to all of us. I'm sure you also now agree that although you say the Buddha teaches First Noble Truth, life is suffering, you have very readily agreed to it, Now you are getting to have second thoughts or revised thoughts about it. You think now may not be so. And in fact, this is one of the things that foreigners criticize Buddhism. Foreigners meaning people like America, they see the Buddha's teaching. They say, first thing he says, life is suffering. So they say, hey, this is very pessimistic religion, terrible. Huh? Life is suffering, that means we are born all suffering. There is no happiness. You see? So they say Buddhism is a very pessimistic. We don't like Buddhism. Straight away they say. Incorrect. Because America, they enjoy, they have dancing, music. They say we enjoy. We have more enjoyment than suffering. In Africa, where it's very poor, people more suffering than enjoyment. You see? But the Buddha says life is suffering. The whole thing is suffering. Worse than Africa. So they say Buddhism is pessimistic religion. We don't like it. Some people take that attitude. See? Now we must, as Buddhists, try to understand what the Buddha really means by life is suffering. See? So I have given you a few points. I have given you certain indications. I hope you will all go back and when you have the opportunity, ask people who are very advanced in their meditation techniques, whatever it is, and say, can you go deeper into this? Why Buddha says life is suffering? Because we haven't fully understood it. See, my idea today, is to tell you that I don't know everything about Buddhism. I tell you what little I have experienced. And I want to share with you that there is a lot more to learn, lot more to know, which we still don't know. Try to realize that. Try to improve on all these things. Now, I talked enough. In fact, I could go for hours on this, talk on and on. I do not wish to spend too much time on this aspect of understanding the Dhamma. Now, I want to go to the next step. I say it is very difficult to practice the Dhamma. What the Buddha teach, we may agree, but we find very difficult to apply, to practice. Now, you may turn out and say, all right, what, for example? I will give you some examples to tell you. And you will all agree after that, yes, very hard to do. See? Previous to that, you might say, nothing is difficult, it can be done. Some may have the idea. Some may already have the idea. It is impossible to practice. Very difficult. And so on. Now, I'm referring simply to the precepts. Now, you all are coming here to practice the 8 precepts, which is very good. You're trying to develop morality, develop the virtues, and avoid from doing things which are harmful, which are not beneficial to us. Okay? Morals. This is a very good training. I must say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu to you all. Carry on. This is excellent. But I wish to point out that in practicing our daily life precepts, the 5 precepts, which is easier to do, and yet I can assure you some of them are almost impossible to do. And I will tell you. Now the first is, I have given a lot of talks and questions come, so I know what sort of questions. One of them is, people say, Mr. Farmer, in my house, a lot of mosquitoes, at night they come, boom, 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 around. I can't sleep. I hate what to do, disturbance. I put a spray, kill the mosquito. Killing, isn't it? Yes, that is killing. Now the point is there a way of avoiding the killing? We are Buddhists. We are trying to follow the first precept which the Buddha says, avoid killing of any living being. A mosquito is a living being, so avoid doing it. So when you use a spray, you kill it. You do like this, you kill it. You do like that, you kill it, isn't it? So can you do any other way? This is the sort of thing we must analyze. Now, I have analyzed this to quite a great extent. I always go rather deeper than other people. So I used to tell the people who say very hard, I say, okay, what you do is you get some money and put mosquito netting all around the building. Mosquito-proof your building. Then when you sleep at night, no mosquitoes can come in. That is one possible solution. But then you see, I have no money, how to do that? Then you have your problem, right? So it's not easy. What I'm trying to tell is, following the precepts is not easy. You might be able to afford it, you will do it. But I'm a poor man, I get only so much a month, only for my food. Where to get the money to mosquito-proof my whole building? My atap building leak here and got plenty of holes here and there. Wall also broken. How to mosquito-proof, is it? So you have problems. And then again, I say, okay, you try to clean your compound and all that so that no mosquitoes will breed. That's also another solution, partial solution. You might keep your compound clean, but your neighbor, your next door neighbor in front, back, they put bottles all over the place. They dig holes and mosquito breed there. What can you do? You can tell him nicely, he ignores you. You can't do much, isn't it? So therefore, it is very difficult to follow the precepts. Do you agree or not? You can think of solutions, but these solutions may be temporary. For instance, I used to tell friends, I said, okay, mosquito bite you, why don't you buy that mosquito repellent? I don't know the name, it's in tubes. You go to medicine shop, you apply all over your body, they won't come, you see. But that only lasts a few hours. You can't apply this all the time. It's a nuisance. So therefore, to do this, follow the precepts, it's not easy to do. Not easy. And this is one. Then you talk, people say about ants, cockroaches, so many, just similar sort of answers. And one thing we found in the Brickfields temple is what? White ants. Brickfields temple, they had a lot of books and all that. And what happened? White ants crawl up the building, you don't see it, it goes to the shelf, eat up all the books. And we lost thousands of dollars of very good books stored upstairs, throw them away. How do you do about it? How do you solve that? White ants, they attack your building. But they have to solve. So what do you do about it? So, you get one of those? Exterminator, yeah. You get an exterminator. That's your answer, okay? Now, you will get an exterminator and tell him to destroy. You are responsible for the killing. They have called that man to destroy, you understand? And that exterminator also injects poison into the nest or whatever it is, and he also is killing, you see. So therefore, it's very difficult to apply the Buddha's teachings. Do you agree or not? Do you agree that it's difficult? I mean, there may be a solution. You may say, all right, you do something. But it's not that easy. It could be very expensive. It could be very, very difficult. So the next problem we have is, we may understand that killing is no good. In fact, we don't want to kill. But what do we do? So the question is, all right, I got a house, white ants eating the column, my ceiling also eating. You mean I keep quiet? My building will collapse. I might be killed under the building. So what do you want me to do? Huh? Again? Again? Again, what is it? Huh? Shift all of this. Yeah, that answer is not satisfactory because unless you got plenty of money, you can't do it, isn't it? Huh? So it is. No, what end you cannot put around. It goes from underneath, you see. So what ends, and you put around also it's not the answer. White ends can fly, you know, white ends. So you cannot just give it. So you see, what I'm trying to do really is not to teach you, but to tell you there are precepts which may be simple, which we want to do, but we find it so hard to do. You see? For instance, the white ant, what do we do now? I haven't got a good solution either. So what I think is, I will now come to the next step and try to tell you, why do we have to meet all these complicated problems? Huh? Why? The answer is in the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha says, life is suffering. This is the meaning of the word life is suffering. That's what he means, you see. You stay there, you earn money, you buy bungalow, build a house, and then white ant go and attack. And you say, what do? I have to kill. Why do killing? Why do I have to kill? If I don't kill, my bungalow will go habis, become collapse. I may die also. I have to kill. This is the meaning the Buddha gave. Life is suffering. All the time we have these problems. You know. Everywhere we go, we have problems. That's why life is suffering. Are you getting nearer to it now? Do you get to understand the meaning of life is suffering? It becomes more, we're getting nearer to what the Buddha is trying to tell us. You see? Whenever we have a problem and we find difficulty of solving it, we just say, there you are, this is what we are. We do this, people scold us. We do that, the other people blame us. Now, what do we do? Huh? This is suffering. We cannot run away from it. This is what the Buddha means. Very deep, very subtle. See? And now, when you really practice it, you begin to see it. When you meet obstacles, and then you do this, say you do planting vegetables for your own garden, huh? And government say, very good, vegetable price will not go up if you plant vegetables and fruits. Excellent. So you plant. Then, after the vegetable go nicely, lots of insects come and bite, make holes, bore holes here, and you say, hey, come, insecticide. Shh, shh, shh. Kill the insects. Kill the thing. Huh? Now, the problem here is, if we don't kill these insects, the insects will eat up all your veggie. Huh? So you've taken the trouble, you get nothing in return. If you kill the insects, you get something to eat, but you have killed. This is what the Buddha means. Life is suffering. Whatever you do, no satisfactory result. Wherever we go, same problem will arise. Don't try to hide. You cannot get a solution. So the Buddha says, life is suffering. Now do you see the point now? Do you see the meaning of the Buddha's teaching? Very, very deep. So all of us who are lay people, we go through life. We meet all sorts of these experiences. We meet all sorts of problems. We help people. In the end, they blame us. They even scold us for helping them. Have you experienced that? People do that, you know. You help them, they in the end scold you, blame you, or do something. And you didn't help me, I would have done this, I would have been this like that, you know. They tell you, no. Huh? They say, why you going to help me, huh? If you didn't help me, I would have done it myself. I would today be a big man or something like that, you know. You know, they blame you. So you say, what is this? Huh? I help also, he blamed me. I didn't help, he say, this fellow so got so much money, don't want to help me. I'm in trouble. This is life. This is suffering. This is what the Buddha means. Okay? Now we see the meaning of life is suffering. So what is the answer to all this? What is the answer? The answer the Buddha gives is, since life is suffering, since we are experiencing this suffering now and again, off and on, here some suffering, there some suffering, this difficulty, that problem, all over, then you say, now I know life really is suffering. What is the answer then? The answer, the Buddha says, is to prevent rebirth. We must not be reborn, because once we are reborn, birth is suffering, because once you are reborn, you go through the rounds of samsara. You suffer. There's no way out. See? And if we experience this and realize and understand this thoroughly, you will then see, now I see the purpose of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths. Life is suffering. The cause of suffering is given. The way to overcome suffering is also told. Let me follow the path. I practice the Eightfold Noble Path and hope that eventually I will attain enlightenment, Nibbana, where I will not be reborn again to suffer. Because once we are born, we cannot run away from suffering. No way. No way. Okay? Do you follow me so far? Yeah. So I don't want to talk too much. As I said, I have tried to tell you that the Buddha's teachings are difficult to understand, and I've given some examples, difficult to practice. And the reason for that, because the Buddha says, life is suffering. There's no easy solution. And the Buddha also said a lot of whatever we do. Some people will say, very good, I agree. Some people say, stupid, I don't agree. Whatever you do, it's the same. This is the meaning of suffering. This is the meaning of the Buddha's teachings. This is now, I hope today, after today's simple talk, you will get a bit more different attitude in life. You begin to see things slightly different. And I hope you will take more determination to prepare, do your 8 precepts properly, and do meditation, and try to find your way out of this round of samsara. I think I better stop here. I don't know how much time I'm given. I would prefer to have questions and discussion. It's a bit early, 2:40, 2:50, 50 minutes of talk. So I hope that I will give at least half an hour for questions, okay? That question is a very good question, but it's a very long one too, you know. I think you should make this one of your topics one day, I think evidence of rebirth. I will tell you very briefly the evidences of rebirth. I think you should make this one of your topics one day, I think evidence of rebirth. I will tell you very briefly the evidences of rebirth. Now actually, according to the Buddha's teachings, one of the evidence of rebirth is the Buddha himself, who, during the night of enlightenment, he cleared his mind, and he also could see people dying and being reborn. He could see that happening. So therefore, he is the first evidence of rebirth. Now, we take it from him, okay? So this, you can say, I don't believe, I still don't believe. Okay, fair enough. But this is one of the evidences of rebirth. Then the second evidence of rebirth is people who can recollect or remember their previous lives. There are many of them. And not, I am telling you, this is written down in books by doctors, psychologists, parapsychologists who have investigated the cases of rebirth experiences. And they have checked them and found them to be perfectly correct. So this is one proof of rebirth. And you find that this kind of people are young people, below the ages of 12, from 3 to 12, within that range, you find people tend to be able to recollect their previous lives. After 12, very little chance. We are so sort of, our minds are so choked with all the education you give him, school, teaching him this, teaching that, is all choked up so that his mind becomes full of useless and partly useless material. So he is unable to think of the previous experiences. Therefore, anything above 12 is very rare. And I can tell many stories about this, but I have no time, so I won't tell stories about it. But you can see in many books, you can read them. And actually, a very good book I recommend about rebirth is, there's a man by the name of Casey. He was an American, and he, not a Buddhist, he was a Christian actually. He could sort of see and think of people in their previous lives and say, previously you was doing this, and because of that you have got this sickness. So he used to cure people by means of his psychic power, to see people's previous lives. And from there he says, oh, last time, oh, you used to do this, do that, and therefore because of that you have got this sickness. Therefore you should do this, do that, and therefore cure yourself. And in this manner he cured a lot of people. And his cases are given in many books. Previous life experiences, KC. So that, if you want proof, you can read that. Then the next one is, these psychologists, people who train in mental cultivation, they use hypnosis to hypnotize a person, make him fall asleep, and then gradually bring them back, slowly retrogression, going back to their old young age and so on, and then from there go to the last life and so on. They can do that under hypnosis. And they have tried many people, and here of course only some people can be hypnotized. And among those that can be hypnotized, only some people can go back to their previous life. Some cannot. They go back and they forget, or they can't. And this is a bit limiting. So there are people who have gone back previous lives and said, in the previous life I was so and so in what place, and they have investigated and found this true. So this is another evidence of rebirth. Now the fourth one, I've got three. The fourth one is the Buddha's explanation of why we are all different here. You are big and tall, you are rather tall and thin, you are, small size, he is very intelligent, the other man not so intelligent, or very handsome fellow, this one average, that girl very beautiful, this girl not so very beautiful. Why? All these are explained in Buddhism because of previous life experiences. You find that other religionists cannot explain it satisfactorily. They say, oh, God made you, you're handsome, you're lucky, God made you handsome. Now why should God make you handsome, make another fellow not so handsome? See? God can do anything. Why can't he make everybody handsome? Huh? Or if you say you want to test the person, or I make everybody ugly. Huh? Why? Why one hand like this, one like that? So the explanation, God made this, is not acceptable to an intelligent person. See? But Buddha says, in your previous lives, if you have done a lot of good merits, you're very kind, you give money, donate, help people. Next time you are born, you'll be born very rich. That's why you're born in a rich family. If you're born in a poor family, the reason is previous life you had money, but you're very stingy. People ask donation, you say, all right, 10 cents lah. Hey, 10 cents not enough lah. All right, then I won't give lah. Take that 10 cents. That next time you'll be born very poor. So these are the reasons, explanations. So every one of us are different. Every one of us had previous lives, which we live differently. Today we are all different. So therefore, it's very logical that this is explained by the theory of rebirth. See? So there are other things, but I don't want to talk about it. As I said, this could be a subject of a talk itself, So I think this is enough. So I don't want to spend too much time on this one subject. Oh, no. Sorry, I don't have that. No. Yes, if I understand your question properly, you are saying that some people die miserable, suffering, prolonged illness or something, There are some people who die very quickly, accident or something like that. So that is, to your opinion, a much better way of dying, sort of, no less suffering, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. This is a very good question also. Now, most of us, I'm sure, will prefer to die quickly, without long death, suffering, sickness, and then all your relatives have to look after you, pay money for hospital bill. After 2-3 months, they get fed up, They say, this fellow nuisance, man, won't die, People say 3 months still didn't die. What is this, Terrible, man. You see? So you don't want to do that, do you? So therefore, the answer to that is quite simple. If you want an easy death, you must try to be good, to help people, to be kind to people. And people who are dying, say people who are suffering in pain, be kind to them, treat them well. If you have time, go to hospital, see your friends who are sick, and talk to them nicely, cheer them up. So if you're kind like that, look after sick people, then having done that, your death will be very simple. See? There will be very little suffering. Be compassionate with people. See? These are the qualities that will, or the merits, or the good karmic energies that will make you die easily, without too much of suffering. On the other hand, if you are a person, very cruel. Huh? You hit the person, he fall down, you step on him some more, he get up, push him down some more. You really torture him. I mean, that sort of person, when you die, you will be subject to that. Nobody will push you, but you will be down. Because you push people down, you will suffer. And this sort of life is very obvious. So as Buddhists, we should learn these things and try to practice them. It is for your own good. Now the Buddha is very, very good about it. He says, if you want good deeds you do, you will reap your good deeds. Nobody else can get it. You will get it yourself. If you do evil deeds, you cannot run away from it. You go and hide in the sea, in a mountain cave, anywhere you go, the evil deed will chase you and follow you, like your shadow. So don't try to run away. So therefore, if you understand the Buddha's teachings, which I hope you do, then try to do good. Try to be kind. Try to be kind to people who are down and out, who are suffering, who are sick. Especially your relatives. If they are sick, please be good. Look after them kindly and carefully. And you find these will bring good results. Your death will be very simple, easy. Does that answer your question? What you say is true. What he is trying to point out is very interesting. Now what he is trying to say is, supposing you meet an accident and die. Now that is not really a good way of dying, It may be instant death. You don't get prolonged death, but it is a sort of premature death. You understand? There are two things here. Now when you die at your old age and drop down instantaneously like the minister, Chan Xiang San, that is more or less a natural death, He had attacked and died. He didn't meet with an accident and die. Now if you meet with an accident and die, that death is also instantaneous death. You don't suffer much. But at the point of accident, just before the accident, you have fear, because obviously, if you're going to meet an accident, last minute, just before you hit, you made a mistake. I shouldn't have gone so far. Then you try to brake or something like that, too late. Bang, you die. So that fear is in you. So it's actually due, that serious accidental death, when you're still young, is due to some karmic action which you've done. That is bad karma. You have cut short your life. You understand? And when you die with fright. There is fear. Not our minister, he didn't die with fear. You understand? So there's a big difference. I'm sorry I didn't differentiate that at first. You brought it up. So I hope it's clear to you all. So if you meet with accidental death when you're still young, that is not the right type of death we should look for. We hope for a reasonable life, and when we die, just die easily, without long, prolonged death, without causing inconvenience to others. That is a good aspiration for Buddhists to look for. So when you become good Buddhists, what you should do is, whenever you do some good deeds, you give dana to the monks, you give dharma talk, you give donation, you help people. After that you say, may the merits of these good deeds be shared with the devas. May my departed relatives benefit from these good deeds. And you can say, may I benefit in that I will die a peaceful, happy life. Okay? These are aspirations. Right? And if you do a lot of good deeds and have these aspirations, you will have a chance to sort of die peacefully. Yes, any other questions? Yeah. Oh, that's another question, huh? Very good, he's full of questions. Very interesting ones too, yeah? Yeah. Now he says, if somebody else kill him, let's say he's driving at the right road, at the right speed, not fast, and yet from the some outside, that fellow going on the opposite side, go over the divider and fell on him. Whose fault? It's not his fault, isn't it? I had a friend who died that way, you know. So how do you explain it according to Buddhism? Now the result is this. The explanation is this. But that man who caused the accident, he also must have done something very bad to sort of result in that accident. So therefore it's due to his bad karma that he has met with that unpleasant accident and killed this man, whatever it is. So what happens is, this man has died due to that accident. Now this is also due to his karma. His karma due to some bad action. The very fact that you die prematurely means it is bad karma in your previous life. You cannot escape that. But how you die is a different matter. That man came and knocked you. So that man is the agent or the karmic energy that caused this accident. So in the previous life, if you study it properly, you will find that somehow or other these two people had something not too good, you know. You must have injured him, or he must have injured me, or he must have done something very serious to me, you know, something like that, to result in that sort of activity. These two meeting, that driver going out of control, climbing over divider and smashing into him. So these two had some relationship. You have got some bad karma for which you died. He had some bad karma for which he is now causing this accident. You see? And maybe killing him. So therefore, they are interrelated in one way or another. Of course, we don't know. I think. So the only person who can tell all that is the Buddha. Yes?
I believe this, all this death, it cannot be classified either good or bad death, in the sense that we do not know as to the person's next birth. We can only say that if these things are caused by karma, then it's just merely karma manifesting effect. But as to say whether that death is good or bad, it's quite difficult to say, because such karmic manifestation of results also happened to the Buddha, also happened to Moggallana, also happened to Angulimala, all this, but it does not mean that it's bad, in the sense that I would see that death as separation of the life process between mind and body, but it does not mean that it's bad in the sense that he will go down to hell. That is something which happens to all living beings. So whether they go from that door, whether they go up or they descend down, we do not know.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, this is the result of some evil karma which you did, which caused the death. But after death, since you repaid that bad karma, some other karmic action will then direct your future life. Not the same thing. So I'm not saying that when you die, you go to a miserable death. I didn't mean that. The very fact that your life is shortened, it is due to some bad karma. Otherwise, according to the Buddha's teachings, if you do good deeds, you don't kill, you have long life. Isn't it? So therefore, long life indicates good karmic actions. Then only you have long life. If you kill a lot and slaughter and unkind, your life is bound to be shorter. So if you die premature death, it means there's some evil karma to cause that short life. But the fact you are paid for that by dying, your future life is not dependent on that anymore. So you may be reborn in a better place. That's true. That's true. But that's a second separate issue.
I think at the point of that, the most important factor to consider is the sense of totality and the type of mindfulness that a person maintains at the point of death, whether even it be an accidental death or whether it be a horrible death. In the sense that since we have to lose our physical body, we do not also lose our mind over it. See, there's nothing we can do about physical body. That comes to everyone, that's certain. But the thing is, just like a person being sick physically, it doesn't have to be sick mentally also. So if that comes to a person, physical separation, process of separation of the life process, you don't have to also subject your mind to the same torture. It's a matter of maintaining very clear mindfulness at that.
Yeah, I agree with you to some extent, but as I said, this is a very complicated subject. It deserves a topic by itself. So we are talking it very superficially only. So thanks for your contribution. You had a question, is it?
If everybody in this world is a vegetarian, will the killing be reduced to a great extent?
Well, that's a question that I cannot answer, because although you Buddhists want to be vegetarians, it does not necessarily mean that other religionists will be vegetarians also. Yeah, that's what I mean. So your word "if" is answered by "if." If that happens, then it may or it may not. So the answer is it may or may not. So the answer is just that. Because it's if you're not sure, the answer is uncertain. Yes?
What do you think about this Emperor Hirohito of Japan, who during Second World War fought so many men, and he still lived up to the age of 87, but he died in a prolonged sickness. But can you explain on that part?
Yeah, that is also rather difficult to explain, really, because this is he's a king, he's a sole emperor, what do you call it? Emperor. So maybe he declared war, that he did, and you see, when you talk about war, it becomes very complex. Why? Because so many people are involved, and it depends on the reasons for that war. See? Of course, we all know, as Buddhists, that war is wrong to begin with. See? Whereas he, due to ignorance, not being, I don't know, he might be a good Buddhist or not, he may think that by declaring war, his people would be happier. That was what he was looking after. So his aims and his thoughts may be different from what we think. We don't know what his thoughts were. So if we know what he was thinking about, or his objectives in the war, and then we can at least say something about it. So since we don't know what his thoughts were in declaring that war, it is very hard for us to really comment. So as I said, I am not like Buddha. I can read his thoughts. No, I cannot. So I can only say what I think, and this need not be correct at all. See? So you know what I mean? I mean like this. We talk about very generally. Say a Buddhist. The country is at war. Somebody want to attack. And the government says we want soldiers to defend the country. Now this is something like not exactly like King's Emperor's decision. But I ask you, what is your decision? Do you want to become soldier and try to defend the country or not? Okay? You can say, I want. And other Buddhists can say, no, I don't want. I don't want to fight, kill. But you say, I fight because I think that by fighting, repelling the army, I might be able to save the citizens from suffering, right? So you have got good intention, although you go and kill people. Now the other chap say, I don't want to go to war. Okay, very good. You don't want to fight, don't want to kill. But you're not protecting your people. So are you doing good? So both are, as I said, in a similar sort of situation. And this is where ultimately the answer is the Buddha has taught us life is suffering. As you are born, you have to suffer. So like Emperor Hirohito, he has to suffer as a king. He had to make a decision to fight or not to fight. Today, many people say he did the right thing. Very honorable, fight. We lose honorably. They say it's okay, right? Another chap say, oh no, he sacrificed so many soldiers, the whole kamikaze, all family, all involved. He killed so many people, very cruel man. This is, as I said, just opinions. And this kind of opinion can always be right or wrong. Whatever opinion you think about can be right or wrong. Some people say right, some people say wrong. This is what happens. So, a question like this, whatever we say, some people will say, I agree with you, some people say, I don't agree. This is the difficulty. So I don't want to talk more because I don't know King that well, and I didn't study that history very thoroughly either. Okay, that's a very good question also. Well, the best thing I can suggest is that a good Buddhist should essentially take refuge in the triple gem, meaning that whenever you're in trouble, you should remember there's the triple gem to guide us, to protect us, and to give us confidence, okay? Fall on that. Don't go and pray to God and all that sort of thing. If you do that, means you are not really following the Buddha's teachings, and people will say, see, this fellow is a Buddhist, now he's in trouble, he's saying pray to God. So you don't have that, don't create that confidence. Then the next thing we should do is, we should try our best to follow the 5 precepts. Try our best. See? And if people see you observing the precepts, they will, after some time, know you are a good fellow, you never kill, never steal, no sexual misconduct, no telling lies, no intoxicants. They will then have respect for you. And you gain what you call virtues. You become virtuous. People say, oh, he's a very virtuous person. Very good. And then the next thing, try to help people. Do the 10 meritorious deeds. You know them, so I don't want to go through them. There are 10 meritorious actions. Try to do them off and on. Practice as much as you can. And the most important, I'm coming to that now, is loving kindness. Practice that. That, I think, among all the others, is most important. You must practice that. If you follow precepts, if you do the others, seek refuge in triple gem, and don't practice metta, you will not be liked. People will still not have much faith and liking for you. The most important thing is to have metta, loving kindness. And here I mean this. I mean that in your daily life, please show a smiling face. Now this is very useful. In fact, you brought a subject which I can, really dwell on. It's very useful. Now, a lot of people say, I practice metta, morning I get up, half an hour I meditate everybody. Loving kindness all round, left, right, center, Europe, England, every country I cover, loving kindness, And then you meet your friend, you scold the fellow and say, stupid fellow, you want this, I don't help you, finish. You see, now, when I say loving kindness, and I mean it, because I find this is an area where a lot of Buddhists, so-called Buddhists, very devoted Buddhists, they go to temple all that. They don't practice loving kindness. Or they fail to see, fail to know they're not practicing it. See? When they meet another person, they say, I don't like that fellow. When you talk like that, you're not practicing metta at all. You say, I don't like the fellow. You are not a Buddhist, you're not practicing metta. You must practice metta to such an extent that firstly in your home, your family must be loving, meaning that you treat your children, wife, relatives with love. How many do it? I can assure you, if you analyze properly, they don't do it. Husband and wife quarrel, argue, don't talk. Come back, grumble, throw plates around. Where is your metta? You can do 1 hour morning meditation, 2 hours night meditation. You're not practicing metta. You see the point. And practicing metta is the practical part, which is more important than just reciting, may all living beings be well and happy, may all living beings in east, west, north, south be well. You're just talking. It means nothing. The practice of it is important. You move out with your people, with your family. Talk nicely. Don't simply get angry, hammer the children for no reason. Is that metta? No. When you go to work, you catch a bus. On the bus stop, you got regular bus stop people, maybe 10, 15, some girls, some young, some old. Not to them. Smile at them. Don't look at their own face. Sit in one corner, look at newspaper. Some people think that's good Buddhist, Don't talk to anybody. I'm quiet. I'm not harming anybody. Yes. But that is not metta. You lack metta. You lack loving kindness. Loving kindness means put on a smiling face. And if you think that girl is always coming morning, nod at her. Or say good morning. Just that. Even if she doesn't answer, never mind. Say good morning. But don't do it in a very brag. Good morning. Don't do like that. You say you show off. Actually, they won't answer you. Put it really sincerely. And you will find that this is the key to friendliness. This is the key to happiness. Everybody will smile at you. Everybody will be nice to you. I have been in Brickfuller's temple for more than 10 years. And I've seen that in the Brickfuller's temple, the atmosphere lacks metta. I have told my youth and I told my friends, I see you fellows talk this, talk that, but you're not practicing it. You give Dhamma talk metta, but are you doing it? You see, this is the point. And I fear, I may be overemphasizing. You may say, oh, Mr. Fa, always talk this, talk that, But I'm trying to put this across so that you realize that talking is no use. You must do it. And doing it, you get the immediate answer, immediate result. You find if you practice this, and you go to office, I'm sure if I ask every one of you, you will say, there are 2 people in my office I never talk to, I don't like, or I put half of them don't talk to me, like that. Where's your metta? You don't know metta. You're not practicing it. If you practice metta, every staff in the office, from the peon right down to your most senior boss, you never see him. Once a year you see him. He should smile at you. He should know you. That is the way to practice metta. You go to the office, smile to everyone. Although you don't have anything to do with him, what's the harm? You see him in office, say hello, how are you, good morning. You mean to say he's going to scold you for that? No. You mean to say it will cost you a lot of money? No. Cheap. Free. Why don't you do it? It's simple. This is the way to attract. This is the way to show. And if you can do that, you will find that everybody will like you. I'm not trying to brag, but I would say in Brickfield's temple, when I walk around, most of the people wish me to say good morning, or they do this, they smile at me. Because I return it. I really practice it. And I tell myself, I must do it. Even people I don't know, I go to them and say, hello, good morning. I haven't seen you. You don't come very much here, do you? And then he said, oh no, I go some other temple. And so on, you see. I mean, I talk to them a bit. So this is something which every one of you should practice. And if you do that, you will be an excellent example to Buddhism. And everybody will say, see, he's a Buddhist, see. Oh, very good, lah. My children also must follow. He gives tuition. I must follow. That is the way. So it's very simple. I think to begin with, the most essential, as I said, is loving kindness. Of course, you need also compassion, and then this sympathetic joy and equanimity. Those are also necessary. But the most important is metta. Practice it. Very cheap, very simple. And do you know, today, the United Nations have started a project called the International Cooperation Year, where they tell every country, there are 80 countries participating, and where they say every country participating should tell their people to practice smiling and talking to people, saying thank you and greeting each other anywhere they meet, in the home, in the workplace, place where you go for shopping, place where you go for exercising, place where you go to learn your Dharma, in the temple, everywhere. Be nice to everyone. Try to create that loving kindness attitude. It doesn't cost you a cent, And you find everybody likes you, smiles at you, and you don't have any worries. If you can do that, you're a very good example. And I fear most, I say most, I'm quite right in that. I dare to challenge that. Most Buddhists don't do that. And particularly those who are very deep, who are meditating, they meditate, they feel, I mustn't talk to everybody, don't look anywhere, And the more meditation do, the more quiet they are. I mean, you can be quiet, but don't have to be that quiet, you see. You know what I mean? We are still lay people. I mean, if you are now a monk, you have renounced, okay, you go quietly in the jungle, meditate, and try to do something, you see. But if you are doing that, it's okay, but still you're working, you have to move with the people, you live in the world, mundane world. Be good to everyone. And you find you can get immediate results. And what are the benefits of loving kindness? There are 11. I think you all know that. So I don't have to tell you, So actually, I think every one of you here doing the 8 precepts know the 11 benefits you get from loving kindness meditation. So please do that. This is the most important essential. If you do that, you are an excellent example of what a true Buddhist should be. And that will be the way to attract a lot of people to your Buddhist way of life. Does that answer your question? Very good question. Thank you.